Good evening. I am Colonel Von Pigg, United States Marine Corps, and tonight I am honored to make this personal introduction. On December 15, 1989, I took the oath of office required of U.S. military officers, that I would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I would bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. For the next 24 and a half years, this oath has provided continuous inspiration and is the source of my leadership philosophy as I have served with, trained, led, and educated countless officers and Marines in peacetime environments and while deployed to combat zones in Iraq and Afghanistan. These Marines come from a variety of backgrounds: farm kids from the heartland, inner city kids, suburbanites, immigrants, and those from privileged upbringings. All are volunteers looking to make a positive impact on society and their own lives. Most of these Marines would serve one or two enlistments, honorably depart the Marines, and begin a new chapter in their lives. Many would serve a full career and retire as esteemed warriors and tenured servants of our Corps. A few would pay the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of our country. My continued service is in their honor. Even today, I am amazed by the quality of individual that joins the ranks of our Corps, both officer and enlisted. These men and women are truly America's finest and represent everything that makes our country great. As I near the end of my own Marine Corps career, I rest assured that the future of my beloved Corps is in good hands. In the spirit of continued service, I am honored to introduce to you a young man filled with the fighting spirit of a U.S. Marine. Trevor Pauley is in a fight for his life, a fine young man with a spirit of survival who deserves our support to help make his dreams come true.
Business trip after we were married 21 years, and he didn't travel very often, but he went away on a business trip, and while he was there he had a massive heart attack and passed away in Detroit, Michigan. And that was May 2011. And then 10 months after that is when Trevor was diagnosed with a grade 4 brain tumor. They did tell me that he would live maybe 4 months, and I didn't think I was going to make it. I knew that I wasn't going to make it. And I started planning in my head, like I said, what I was going to do with Evan. And because I knew that I was not going to make it through this. But the doctor that I got, Dr. Andrew J., amazing man, is a Christian. And he was the only one willing to do the surgery out of 40 doctors or so. This doctor thought that Trevor's best chances is to go ahead and have the surgery because he was 15 and healthy. And
an athlete.
And it was Good Friday when we did the surgery.
Don't forget the athlete. Don't forget the athlete.
Athlete, yes, you're definitely an athlete. That's what he said. And so when he went in to do the surgery, we had only believed at that point from all the doctor's information that we were going to be able to get 80% of the tumor. And in Dr. J's opinion, it was best to try to radiate and give chemotherapy to 20% of a tumor rather than 100%. So with all the risks involved, I knew that Trevor's best chance was to have the surgery, and Dr. J thought so too. So he went in and he did the surgery, and he came back out, and he was about as white as he had no blood color in his face. He was standing there in total shock. And I remember him telling me, Miss Pauley, we we think we got 100% of it. And my friend was standing next to me. We were all just like with our mouths gaped open, and I reached out and I grabbed their hands. I said, can you tell me that again? And he said it again, and he explained to me how the 80% they thought they could get was at the top, and the 20% that they thought they were not going to be able to get was in the brainstem, because cancer can't come out of the brainstem, they can't go in there. So he hovered over the brainstem in hopes to get as much of it as he could off the surface. And he said the cancer let go of the brainstem. He said he'd never seen anything like it before, that it was a miracle, and he believed it to be a miracle. And the cancer just let go and came to the instrument, and they got 100%. And everything was going great that day. That night, Trevor had a brain bleed, and they told me there was a risk of bleeding. So he had a brain bleed. I didn't think anything of it. They went back in the same way they had gone before, and they extracted the blood. And then 2 days later, he had another brain bleed in the same spot. And they went in a different way, and they told me that he would be in a coma-induced state for 5 days, and that the machines would be doing all the work when he woke up out of the surgery, because the blood had got back down into the brainstem, and they just did not know if he was dead or alive. The machines were doing all the work, and that for 5 days I wouldn't know if my son was dead or alive and being kept alive by the machines. So a lot of praying was going on, and a lot of people came down to see him. And then on May 18th, the day that my husband had passed away, to the day, Trevor started snapping his fingers. He woke up, and everything was looking good. I thought we were going to get out of the ICU, and we didn't. He had another brain bleed, and then another, and then he had. They went in. They decided to put a trach in and a G tube, and in the process of doing that, he bled also. Lots of bleeding, and they had said to me, we don't know why he's bleeding, Miss Pauley. So finally, they tested him and found out he had hemophilia A, mild. So it didn't show up all his life, because it was just a mild hemophilia that shows up in surgery. That particular brain bleed, that last one that left him like that, left him in a near coma state for 6 to 7 months. He was put into a rehabilitation center for children called Health Bridge downtown, and he stayed there for 4 months. And during those 4 months, he's still unable to move anything. He moved his eyes, and everybody at that hospital told me that he would never get any better, and that he would spend the rest of his life in a nursing home, and that I needed to start accepting that to be the case. And again, I just couldn't, and neither could any of my friends. And we continued to pray and trust the Lord. And eventually, after several months, and them telling me they were going to put him in a nursing home, he started snapping his finger again and being able to move his right hand and his right foot. And in the process of doing that, I called TIER, took video, and sent it to TIER, because they were not going to take him back. They didn't think he was going to get any better either. But they saw the video, and the woman said, yeah, okay, we're going to go ahead and give Trevor a chance. He'll probably be there 21 days. That's the most we can keep him. Everybody wants him to stay there a very long time because it's a rehabilitation center. And I thought, well, okay, 21 days, I'll take it. He was there 4 months. By the time he left there, he was moving his right leg, his right hand, his left leg. And it was just amazing how far he'd come. He started speaking on December 19th. And the first words he said were, "Hi, Mom." And that was just amazing. And from there he left, and he went to a place called Touchstone, and he stayed there for a few months and had some real rehabilitation there. And they pretty much believed the same thing, that he was never going to get out of the wheelchair. And I just knew that he'd beat all these odds, and that God was not going to bring him that far and let him stay like that. So we brought him home in June. This June will be a year, so almost a year he's been home. And during that time he went to therapy at outpatient, and we worked on him here at the house, and he now walks around with a walker. And in therapy, they're trying to get him to walk with a walking stick. So I'm looking forward to the day that everybody can see how far he's come and what the Lord has done for him and me.
Having two children the same age, just a month and 1 day apart, our children have been very close and still are. One trip that our families took together was to San Antonio in March of 2012. And on that trip, I noticed some very different behaviors for Trevor. For example, we were walking along the Riverwalk and I saw him stumbling, and I jokingly pulled him aside and asked if he'd been drinking. Obviously, I knew Trevor would never do that, and he said, "I don't know, Janine, I just feel weird. It's like I can't keep my balance." And so honestly, we just left that off and walked a little further and had dinner. I remember Doris being very upset because she could not wake him in the mornings for school, and he didn't want to go to school, which was also unlike Trevor because he enjoyed going to Klein High School. He loved it there. He loved his friends there and all things sports. We all just thought that perhaps was part of the grief process for Trevor.
Back home, but one of the things I always remember about Trevor, especially before he had his surgery, Trevor was very fun-loving, and one of the things that really stood out about to me is Trevor always had a big heart for children, especially my son Luke or any little child.
My name is Luke, and I'm 7 years old. My friend Trevor, he helped me almost conquer my fear over horses because he taught me a lot.
And just a real caring, compassionate, young man. And of course, the things that impressed me about Trevor going into the surgery, Trevor almost went into it like, a calmness, a supernatural calmness going into the surgery, and he just was smiling. And one thing I'll never forget this was we was praying for Trevor right before the surgery, and one of our friends, I don't want to say her name, she put her hands a little bit too hard on his head, and he said, "I didn't want to hurt your feelings, but you really hurt me during that prayer." So I remember that. I remember one of the most despairing moments. I went down there, and of course Doris was just beside herself. I went there and I saw him hooked up on a respirator, had all these tubes going in him, and I thought, oh dear God, I don't know. I said, my goodness, he just seemed like he kept going from worse to worse. But during that time, I don't know, it just like God spoke to my heart, and I realized that God was going to do something with Trevor. And it wasn't maybe about 2 or 3 months later I came home, she was crying, I thought something had happened. She said, "You ain't going to believe this." And I got on the phone, he said, "Hello, Pam. Love you." And the doctors had told, said, "Mrs. Pauley, he's not going to walk again. This is where he's going to be at." The thing that has really most impressed me about Trevor through this whole time, I've not heard Trevor say, "God, why did this happen to me? Why am I like this?" I've never heard him complain, never heard him be negative, never heard him be bitter. And what always amazes me, he says, "I'm not worried about me." He said, "I'm worried about my mom." And he always is thinking of his mom. Trevor has been an inspiration to me. When I have a toe ache, I said, "You know what? I think I can make it through," because Trevor would probably more than anything love to have a toe ache and be able to get out and do things. So he's an inspiration to me and a blessing, and I thank God for the privilege of knowing Trevor.
All right, how you doing? I'm Coach Golden here at Klein High School, and I've had the honor and the privilege of working with Trevor Pauley. He was one of our football players here, and like I said, he was fearless. And even from the first day that we put the full pads on, the guys were in there, running around. We set up this drill we call the Oklahoma drill, where the kids kind of, hit each other. One of them's got the football, and the other one's tackling. And man, he was fearless. He must have gone probably 20, 30 times. I had to finally pull him out of there and say, "Trevor, you've got enough. Let's get somebody else in here." And you could just tell that he really enjoyed competition, really enjoyed the game of football, and just enjoyed the camaraderie of the team. And he was one of those guys that just there was something special about him. He had that fire inside of him that never quit, never die, never give up attitude. And when I'd see him and he was excited about practice or game or whatever, it kind of got me fired up and kind of got me going as well. And was very coachable. Yes sir, no sir, whatever you need to do, coach. I mean, he'd run through a brick wall for us if we'd asked him to. Probably the most genuine thing about him, and thing that I admired the most, it was kind of a tragic situation, but his father passed away. It's when you have that special bond, that special relationship with your dad, and that's one thing about Trevor and his dad that really I admired was they reminded me of the way my father and I were together. His dad was always there, every football game, every track meet. just cheering Trevor on, and my dad was the same way. And I love the way that the encouragement from his dad really impacted Trevor. And so when his dad passed, I could tell that he was brokenhearted about it. But I kind of went through something similar, and I had an older brother that I could lean on. And obviously, Trevor had to be that big brother. And just the way he was with his younger brother, the way he was there for his mom, man, it really just filled my spirit with just some hope. And he's got just a great heart. And like I said, I'm just glad that I had an opportunity to be a part of his academic and athletic career here at Klein High School. And if there's ever anything I can ever do for that young man, please let me know, because the way he showed up every day and was ready to run through a brick wall for us, the least I could do is run through a brick wall for him one day.
Trevor Pauley. Let's go!
I'll be listening to teaching in a break with my high school band and football team and cheerleaders.
I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you I'll be just fine. No offense to